what inspired you to get into acting?
What matters is the story and how you craft it.
You've answered a lot of the questions already with that one answer, so that's fine.
I've been trying to get movies made for a really long time, and this was also me sort of saying, all right, well, this is my last hurrah. I'm gonna leave it all on the field, as they say.
Let me know when you lace them up again, kid. You used to be something to see.
Any advice? Yes? Go home.
I owe you a drink.
You don't.
I could use one.
I bet you never fight in the ring again.
You owe me big time.
I got nothing to prove.
I know you don't. Do you?
Please subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcasting platform.
My name is Nick Sasso. I'm a filmmaker. I live out here in Los Angeles, and I've been at this for a while, for about 20 some odd years, trying to get a movie made. I've worked in and around production and in post-production, visual effects for a number of years, and that sort of led me here. Yeah.
I just watched Haymaker now, literally about an hour ago, and loved it. I could go on for ages. I love the whole just vibe of it, the characters, everything. But would you mind giving our readers just a bit of a teaser, perhaps, of what it's about?
Sure, yeah. Haymaker is the story of a retired Muay Thai fighter who falls in love for an alluring transgender performer and pop star of sorts. The story sort of leads the main character back to the ring to sort of find a sort of personal redemption.
And is it kickboxing or what?
Well, it's actually Muay Thai. Kickboxing is sort of a derivation of Muay Thai, which is the national sport of Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's called Art of Eight, also known as the Art of Eight Limbs, one of the more ancient martial arts out there, and something I've been doing for a really long time.
Nice.
Yeah, so
it was
I
really
was able to bring both those worlds together for this movie.
I noticed the kind of like mashing of genres and stuff like that. It was really cool. And I was going to say, there was like a karate kind of vibe, like Karate Kid 80s kind of vibe, and especially with the music as well. But was that all deliberate?
That's a really good question. I mean, when we set out to make the movie, our original plan was to do something, when I say like set out to make it, like I had the script in mind, and when I had gotten Nomi attached, before we had attached the producer to help, Andrew Vandenhouten, to help with the film, our plan was to do something somewhat like the Safdie brothers did with Heaven Knows What, which is a great film, sort of a docu-narrative approach. And in it, because I actually, train Muay Thai, and as you know, Nomi actually is a musician. So our plan was like, let's just sort of do this sort of blurring the lines, sort of docu-narrative approach to it. And once we got our producer on board, he's like, I think you guys should really slow down. There's some real potential here for a more sort of calculated approach to the movie. And I think he was right. And so in doing that, it kind of, the story sort of takes on a life of its own. I know that from other projects I've worked on, but this one in particular, it's like I really didn't set out to make a musical melodrama, but that's sort of what ended up happening,
Oh, cool. Yeah. No, I think it really worked. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I hate asking this question about like what inspired the story and stuff, but I noticed that the characters have the same names as yourself and Nomi.
Right.
And I just wondered, perhaps there was a element of truth or something, maybe.
Well, it was like I said, the docu-narrative. Originally, when we were rehearsing this, our plan was to actually be, because I was, connected. I was living in New York at the time. I was actually in that world in the Muay Thai world in New York, and we know that Nomi actually performs. So our feeling was like, if we're going to be shooting me at the end, I was going to actually fight at the end. And so our whole thing was like, if people that we knew there were going to be interacting with me, we didn't want my name to be Joe, and people were saying, "Yo, Nick, what's up?" So we started rehearsing some of the more dramatic scenes. And when we finally decided, it was like by the time we decided to calculate the shoot, it was like we were already sort of locked in on those names, and we felt it had a nice ring to it, and we felt like it would sort of stimulate the conversation, and so that's how that came. Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. So was it all completely scripted then, or when you say doc narrative, did you just a lot of it on the fly?
Well, this was all scripted. The stuff, I will say, because we did get away from that, but some of the things we actually did shoot live because we're a small independent movie, and so there's a performance of Nomi's in Greece where we basically had one take. We're actually in a club in Lida Horo, which is by Mount Olympus. So she actually did that performance. I'm actually standing on the stage, like, posing like a bodyguard, which felt kind of awkward because they were like the most harmless crowd on the planet. And when she went to Mexico City, that was another interesting story because we always felt like, and speaking to Nomi when I was in post, I was like, I just feel like we need like a big performance, a big show. I just feel like we didn't quite get it. There's a scene in the movie also where the character's in Greece and he's looking at a TV monitor of her performing in a stadium show. That's actually archive footage that she actually has performing with Jessica Six at a stadium show in Greece. But it didn't quite translate when we started looking at it in post the way we hoped. And I really wanted to showcase Nomi's musical performing prowess, which is, I think, fantastic in its own right. So, what we ended up doing was sort of thinking like, man, I guess this is just going to miss it. And then I got a call from Nomi just randomly. She's like, hey, I'm performing in Mexico City tomorrow, or like the day after tomorrow. Check out this venue. I think this is kind of like what you had in mind. She sends me a picture. Said, oh my God, we have to shoot this. So I said, I called my DP and he helped me get a camera. And I can operate. I've done it before, like when I was working commercials, but I'm not a DP. So he like set up the camera. We literally wrapped it up in towels. I put it in my backpack and just Nomi and I we flew down to Mexico City, and that was that's me doing it sort of documentary style. But outside of that, it was all very scripted.
That's so cool. I love hearing, because we talk to a lot of indie filmmakers, and I like hearing about the kind of the graft that it takes. You literally carried a camera on your back. That's so cool. And I was going to ask
we didn't have a case. We didn't even have a case for the camera. It was like in my boxing bag. It only fit in my bag with my boxing gloves. It was like so funny.
I love that. I was going to ask about those concert scenes because I was curious. Yeah, because in the independent film, I didn't know how you pulled that off, but that was better than I would have thought.
Yeah.
I really wanted to mention the car, because I'm a bit of a car fan. Was it a Dodge Challenger or something?
Yes, it's actually the same car with a different paint job that Zoe Bell is clinging to in Death Proof, and that's a coincidence.
No way. Oh, no way.
Yeah,
That's
again,
cool.
independent film. When I was, one of the things you're trying to do if you're trying to really scrape pennies together to make something that's, I was trying to make something that sort of stood out outside of the fray, especially for the budget we were at. So, you sort of take advantage of anything you can get your hands on. And I just knew through social media, this kid I used to go to high school with, I wasn't even really friends with him, but I just knew he was into cars in high school. And like, here we are, however, 15, 20 years later, 25 years later, and he's like still working on cars. I'm like, hey dude, I'm like, been a long time. You want to bring your car down? And he's like, to do this movie?
So cool.
This guy works in finance. And he's like, sure. So that's him doing the donuts. Like that, it's like, you do whatever you can. And it just so happened that we had a crazy connection with the Challenger from Death Proof. And
That's awesome. And it kind of added to the 70s, 80s style, right? I didn't know if that's why you chose that car or not.
Yeah, well, I like the idea just metaphorically of a guy who's he's got this one other thing that he likes to do other than fighting, and it's working on old things. And at this point in his life, he's an old thing, So it's sort of like metaphorical to I think part of the story, which is the idea of this haymaker, this idea of the last inning, the Hail Mary pass kind of idea. Because in a sense, that's what the movie professionally was for me. I've been trying to get movies made for a really long time, and this was also me sort of saying, all right, well, this is my last hurrah. I'm gonna leave it all on the field, as they say.
Yeah, why not? I was thinking afterwards that, and you mentioned a minute ago, and I read the synopsis. Obviously, Nomi's character is a trans woman, and I just thought, when I was watching the film, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was much mention of it, if any, and it was really refreshing. Yeah, but I just thought it was really refreshing to see a film where it was about the relationship and the love, rather than the fact that she's a trans woman. And I just wondered if that was intentional from the beginning to do it that way.
It definitely was. It was sort of two-phase. It was important to Nomi and I that we really sort of move the conversation at least around the trans conversation here in our country, past the transition story, past sort of classical sort of negative, I don't want to say negative narrative, but that those stories have been really sort of not as uplifting as I think we kind of wanted this to be. And at the same time, my feeling when I was writing the script was like, I was actually, very much more interested in the musical aspect of the character. And I felt like the less we said about it, the more whoever you are watching the movie could bring your own thoughts to that experience, so we didn't have to sort of tell you how to feel about it, sort of watch these two characters from really opposite walks of life, different parts of New York. Someone, Nomi being cool and popular and successful professionally and financially, and then this other guy who's just sort of like down and out, like a bit of a schlub, but's got the heart of heart of a lion. And sort of seeing those two just very different folks coming together, it's like a very universal story. I think there's all sorts of people out there who find love and connection in unexpected places, and that could be for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's really powerful in itself to just put it on a plate and say, here you go. And not even, I just like that you didn't really reference it a lot. It was just about the characters.
I mean, I will say I was very inspired by, sorry to interrupt, I was very inspired by Ang Lee's Brokeback Mountain. I felt like, at least how Heath Ledger's character was portrayed in that movie, I felt like that was I love that movie, beautiful movie. And I just love how, Heath Ledger's performance really invited a certain sensitivity that gave audience members, despite their sexuality or orientation, a way in to, root for someone like Heath's character to find love and connection. And that was a huge inspiration, and something I felt like would be interesting to combine with the sports fight movie. We hadn't sort of seen before.
No, I love that film. No, I can definitely see that coming through. It sounded like you had like a lot of, like I say, grafting and thinking on the fly. So what advice, we ask this a lot, what advice would you give sort of upcoming filmmakers? What did you learn from the shoot?
Wow, there's like so many things I don't know advice to give. I guess it really
the top one.
The top one. It sort of depends also like on where young filmmakers are in the process. I think the two big things I would say is like, one, like don't wait for somebody else to give you permission to make your movie or to make movies. You're really going to learn trying and failing. And I think that second to that is the cheapest way to do that is to write. The one sort of guarantee when you're making an independent film, or any film for that matter, or any artistic endeavor, is things aren't going to go according to plan. And I think that the more the more you struggle through the puzzle of the story and the screenplay, the more you have a sense not of like exactly how the story should be plotted, but sort of this intangible truth to the story. And so I think that's just so important. It's only really developed through the writing, in a sense, for me at least. And so in trying to write scripts, I think you're going to really and write stories and make it work on the page. You're going to be prepared to, when you get on set and things go completely wrong, knowing how to solve those problems. So I think that would be my best advice, is to write your own stories. And with technology today, there's so much you can do on your own, and just you make your own movies and put them up there. And as Guillermo del Toro says, kick down the door.
100%.
Which I'm still trying to do, by the way. It's not like
I think that's great advice. I felt like I should have been writing that down.
You're recording it, thank God. So,
yeah, that's true. One of my last questions, and I hate to catch people off guard, but we've got to say, what is your favorite film of all time, if you have to pick one?
It depends. I mean, it depends on what day you ask me. I've got
I'm the same.
Do I have to just pick one today?
Maybe the first one that comes to your mind today.
Children of Men, probably.
Nice, good choice.
Yeah, I get goosebumps thinking about that movie. It's sort of like, it just always comes back to me as just such a beautiful movie. I love that movie. I love so many movies. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I love cinema, I love movies, but yeah, I can pretty consistently say that movie is at the top of the heap for sure.
I think it's a strong choice, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll leave you on the final question just to say what's coming up next. I mean, other than getting this film out there.
Well, what I will say is this: I don't want to give away too much, but I will say this: that I've had a number of UFO experiences in actual real life, and so no, I've never been abducted, but I've seen a whole heck of a lot of them. So that's a little sneak peek to what's coming up.
That was not what I was expecting at all. That's a good answer. I'm very intrigued now. I have to keep an eye out. Are you on like social media or anything?
I am. Yeah, sure. You can find me at Nick Sasso on Twitter. That Sasso. Yeah, just Google me, and I'm sure I'll pop up somewhere.
Yeah. No, I'll keep an eye out for whatever this intriguing project is.
Please subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. Thank you.